We presently are very patiently going through the Bible, and we've come to Genesis chapter 3, verse 11, where God is talking about the entrance of sin into the world. We got down to verse 10, where Adam is replying to God's question, "Where art thou?" He said, "I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." And we read in verse 11, "And he said," this is God who is speaking, "Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat?" Now, that's a legitimate question that is being asked. Hast thou eaten of the tree? Because he had eaten of the tree. God is going to get confession. But let's see how curious that confession is. And the man said, "The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat." And we notice here that immediately he tries to put the blame on somebody else. Really, he tries to put the blame on God. You gave me this woman. You gave me this woman, and she's the one who gave me the fruit to eat, and I followed her. So really, he's effectively trying to say, it wasn't my fault. If I had been away from this woman, if this woman had never been given to me, I would not have fallen into this rebellion. And my, oh my, that mirrors the sin of mankind. Again and again, when we fall into sin, we look around immediately for someone else to blame. Sometimes it's called the blame game. That as soon as we are caught in sin, we begin to blame somebody else because we don't want to be guilty. In fact, we're scared to death to be called a sinner. My, don't we recognize that when we live in this world, it's super easy to fall into sin. That's why it is so wonderful that we can know that God forgives sin, but we can't expect to have our sin forgiven if we deny even that we have sinned. Why not acknowledge the sin? Because that is what we have done, and pray God for His forgiveness, and He does forgive. It's amazing what God has done for us, but it's amazing what mankind tries to do. They try to cover up their sin by denying the fact that they have sinned. So they think that this makes it better for them, and actually it makes it worse, because if you deny you've sinned when you have sinned, what sin are you asking forgiveness for? There's none you're asking forgiveness for. The whole idea of forgiveness of sin is lost. The wonderful, wonderful message of the Bible is forgiveness. Forgiveness. And if we are going to hold a position which is entirely incorrect anyway, that we have not sinned, there's not going to be any forgiveness. The whole business is upset and messed up. Don't ever hesitate for a moment to pray, "Oh Lord, forgive me. I am a sinner. I am a sinner." Christ came to forgive sins. And how much better it would have been for him had he admitted his sin. But no, he didn't want to admit that. God gave me the woman who caused me to sin. It's your fault. It's her fault. It's not my fault. I am innocent. What a lot of nonsense. And the man said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Now is the response of God himself. And the Lord God said, when we see that word Lord, it is pointing right at the heart of Adam. He is showing that God is the ruler. He is the king. He is the one we answer to. And the Lord God said unto the woman, what is that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguileth me, and did eat. Now the woman is addressed. She now is receiving the accusation, what hast thou done? And again comes alibis, no real confession at all. She says, the serpent beguileth me, and I did eat. In other words, there's an implication here again that God is at fault. He's the one who created the serpent and allowed the serpent to be in the garden, and he is the one who is at fault. He beguileth me. That means that he deceived me, and I did eat. It isn't my fault at all. It's because of the fact that you allowed this serpent to come here. You could have stopped that serpent. You created the serpent. It puts the blame right back on God. What utter nonsense. And that's exactly the way mankind does with his sin. They desperately try to put it upon God. They don't consider for a moment, no, my friend, you're the one who has sinned. Admit your sin, but remember that Christ came to forgive sins. And if you deny that you have sinned, then where is there going to be forgiveness? You're not going to be asking for forgiveness because you're denying that you have sinned. It's a path that you think is leaving you innocent, and actually it is establishing your guilt and leaving you without a remedy, without a way of escape, namely getting forgiveness from God. It is so much better always to do it God's way. The only way to go with our sin, and there's only one way, is to admit, I am a sinner. I am a sinner. Have mercy on me, O God. O God, have mercy. And then we are going to the source of forgiveness for ourselves. We are the ones that want to be forgiven if we're really understanding the situation of sin. We are not, first of all, looking for the forgiveness of the sins of others. We want to have our own record of sin cleared up. And Christ came, why? To save sinners. And even as the Apostle Paul put it, of whom I am chief. It's crazy. It's worthless when we try to kid ourselves and kid God that we are not sinners. The only way to go, people, the only way to go is admit, I am a sinner. I committed that sin because Christ came to forgive sinners. Oh, what they're missing. If they only would go, oh God, have mercy on me. I am a sinner.